Let's call the meeting to order and stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Honorable Mayor Ron Shaver,
Here.
Councilmember Dan Marlar.
Here.
Doug Shasso.
Here.
Allison Howe.
Present.
Clint Anderson.
Here.
Lisa Northrup.
Here.
Kevin Lindell.
Present. And accounted for. Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of our November 18th, 2018 regular council meeting. Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. A draft version of those minutes is included in the packet, and those are presented for your approval by resolution.
Has everybody had a chance to review them? Are there any corrections or changes? If none, I would entertain a resolution.
Your Honor, I would offer resolution approving the minutes from the December 18th, 2018 City Council regular meeting.
Second.
I have a resolution by Lisa Northrup, a second by Allison Howe. By roll call.
That resolution carries unanimously.
Next is possible action on a reappointment of Lynette Gimbel to another term of the Library Advisory Board. Councilmember Northrup.
Yes, Lynette Gimbel is currently and has been on the Library Advisory Board for several years now. She holds one of the officer positions and is seeking to be reappointed to the Library Advisory Board. So therefore, I would, by motion, recommend that she is reappointed to another term on the Library Advisory Board.
Second.
I have a motion by Lisa Northrup, a second by Clint Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. You'll inform her?
I will, or I'll have to.
Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on ordinance 1223 annexing to the city of Fort Morgan known areas known collectively as the Phoebic annexation. This is a public hearing. Keep your comments to the issues before the city council. Each speaker is asked to limit the time to 3 minutes unless a speaker represents a group, in which event additional time may be allocated. Please respect these limitations, as I reserve the right to limit public comment that is inappropriate under these guidelines or otherwise improper. I also reserve the right to limit testimony or questioning that is repetitive, cumulative, argumentative, and not pertinent to the issues, and set a time limit on the duration of testimony if I deem it necessary in light of the number of persons who have signed up to testify. First is the issue of legal notice. Minister Brennan, was it properly noticed?
Yes, Your Honor. A legal notice of this public hearing appeared in the Fort Morgan Times on December 21st.
Next is presentation of the ordinance. Mr. Gleimeyer.
All right, good evening. Thank you. Happy New Year to you all.
Same to you.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you. We talked about this at the last meeting. This is the second and final step in the process to annex land that the city owns into the city limits of the city of Fort Morgan. You have the map in front of you, I think, in your table file. The ordinance has been prepared by Jason. We have a couple of things that have come up since we talked at the last meeting. First of all, Phoebig is misspelled. It should be F-I-E-B-I-G. I think we can correct that pretty easily, with no need to have this reposted or anything of that nature. The second one, we did receive a call from the county today, and they have looked at this map and requested that we actually not annex County Road R, and the map shows that we would be taking a portion of County Road R. The surveyors picked that up because previously when we annexed the substation property, we actually took half of County Road R when we did that. So they just followed suit with this plat, and the county's requested that we have that changed so that we actually don't take half of the road in this annexation and leave all of County Road R in the county. Jason and I talked very late today about that. We think we can probably go ahead and pass this tonight, and we'll just amend the map and make sure that everything, when it's recorded, is correct and to the wishes of the county at that time. Did you want to?
So what we would request is an amendment from one of you nice folks, amending the legal description and the map to ensure that County Road R is not included in the annexation. We'll handle that once we can get a hold of the surveyors and get all of that administratively done. Once it's completed, we'll republish the entire ordinance to make sure the legal description is out there correct and move forward from there, rather than tabling the issue and bringing it back at another meeting.
I have reached out to the surveyors, and they're prepared to make the amendment. We talked today, so.
Why do they not want us to annex Road R? And
Well, the map purports to annex half of the road, and they certainly didn't want that. It does lead to some confusion when we're talking about road maintenance and these types of things. Why we did it in the past, I can't answer, because we did do that when we annexed the substation property. We actually do own just 200 feet of half of County Road R, right there at the intersection. I think just for continuity and less confusion, it's either annex the whole thing or none, and in this case, they asked us to annex none. Didn't really get a reason as to why. They just would prefer that we not annex the road. When we annexed the Williams farm, which is to the east of this, we actually left County Road R out.
When we did the annexation of the place where they want to build the houses south of the new middle school,
Yes.
didn't we just do half of those county roads along the edge of it? Do you
No,
know?
we left Q out completely.
Yep.
Generally speaking, the process and procedure is when we annex property, we annex the entire street next to it. That's generally the approach. However, in cases like County Road Q from down by the middle school to this case, when they're still pretty rural in their function, these are outlying streets that are on the very, very edge of town, and leaving them subject to the county's regulation and control versus us and our control can affect some of the routes that the farmers take with their goods to get them into town, sugar beets, et cetera. And if we start annexing those roads, it can cause some disruption based off of how our regulations work versus the county's regulations. So in this particular instance, as Steve mentioned, we weren't intending necessarily on purpose to annex half of a road. You can't really tell from the map that that's what was happening, but based off of the legal description, that's what was going on. And so to make it so we're not causing for more confusion and more problems, that's why we're backing up.
is it going to be detrimental to our plans for that land in the future if we don't have the road?
We can annex it at a future date if we'd like to.
But to answer your question, I don't think so. If there are accesses that need to be created or something onto this parcel, we would certainly just follow the permitting process that the county would require, and I don't think that's an onerous process. I think it'd be fair to do that. So I don't think it causes us any issue if we decided to develop this property that's immediately adjacent to R in the future. I think there may be some thought that we may just sell the entire parcel as is in the future.
And to your point, as far as control is what it comes down to, whether or not we want control over Road R. That when it comes to development, generally we have an intergovernmental agreement with the county pursuant to our comprehensive plan that any development that happens within a certain radius of the city is done in harmony with our standards anyways. So we're protected into the future as it develops, whether or not we continue out that direction or not. So we're avoiding the maintenance of that road at this point, which is a benefit to the city. And since we don't have a specific purpose of taking over that road at this point, it makes sense to leave it out. But
I'm really curious as to why they don't want us to.
my understanding, and Brent can correct me if I'm wrong, he had the conversation with Mr. Zwetzig, is they would love us to take it, but there's no reason for us to. We don't necessarily want an extra half a mile of road.
Yeah, I don't think, the commissioner's intent wasn't to keep the road for themselves. That wasn't the conversation. You have to understand that if we go ahead and try to annex in the entire road, we now throw at least 3 additional parties into this annexation process that aren't the city of Fort Morgan or the county, because people have ownership up to the section line, which is the middle of the road. And in order to annex in the south side of R at that point, we would have to have those people named in the annexation plat. Their parcels would have to be surveyed correctly and added. And that would take this annexation process and extend it by who knows how long in order just to get the other half of that road in. And so Jim's suggestion was, if you guys want to go ahead and just continue with the FEBIG annexation, leave the road out, and then you don't have to worry about the owners on the other side of the road. I think it was just a convenience thing for us, was what Jim was suggesting when he called this afternoon. So, but they don't like the split road thing. It causes issues every time we have one of these that was done in the past, and they just didn't want to create another. It's a law enforcement issue, it's a maintenance issue. There's a lot of things that go into when we split these right-of-ways. But that's just the way they did it in the past, and we're just trying to prevent it from now into the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
No reason to perpetuate foolishness.
Other questions?
for Mr. Glenmeyer?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Public comments. Is there anybody wish to speak on the issue? I would ask the city clerk if there were any oral or written comments prior to this meeting.
Not through my office, Your Honor.
Council discussion. Are there any questions from council or discussion? Pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Yep.
State that this is a really important annexation for the city of Fort Morgan, as we've been looking at trying to get this wrapped up over the last 7 years. Acquisition of the property as well as bringing it into the city. It's a big hole in the middle of our current jurisdictional limits, but more importantly, we have been working with the ditch company to shut down that lateral for the last 6 years, and we're still working on that and making headway. But the purchase of that property and the water that came with it put us in a position now to shut down the lateral. And the cost to repair the lateral exceeded what the actual cost of the property and the water was. So, one of the things that I think is important for the public to understand is that the purchase of that property had multiple reasons, and we saved the taxpayers $4 million with now an asset that cost us significantly less than that, and provided us with water and property for future development of businesses. So overall, this annexation is really a representation of 6 years of hard work from staff trying to put together a whole stack of dominoes that are finally falling over into place. And we want to thank council for your support in that process, and want to thank staff for their continuous efforts to make sure that we're following council's direction.
Very good. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Lisa Northrup, a second by Kevin Lindell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Council action, Mr. Myers.
All right, so as discussed previously, if you choose to move forward with this tonight, we would suggest and recommend that you amend it with the removal of the half of the right-of-way as discussed. If you think that it would be more appropriate to set this over for another hearing, continuation of the hearing, we can do that. Or if you'd like to tell the county, and no thanks, we'll take half of the road, I suppose you could do that. It's up to you.
Jason, didn't they change the rules for annexation that if we annex any part of the road, we have to take the whole road?
That's generally the rules, correct. So if that's the route council wants to take, we would basically
whole
have
thing.
to go back.
And do the whole thing? Okay.
Correct. Sorry if I misstated that.
I probably just misunderstood it.
Okay, now that we have that cleared. I would entertain a resolution.
Your Honor, I would offer a resolution approving second and final reading of ordinance number 1223, annexing to the city of Fort Morgan areas known collectively as the Phoebic annexation, with the amendment to the legal description to not include Morgan County Road R, and authorization to publish by title only.
Second.
I have a resolution by Lisa Northrup, a second by Clint Anderson. Vote by roll call.
That resolution carries unanimously.
Public comments or audience participation for things not on the agenda. Seeing none. Reports by officials and staff.
We had a good holiday season, I think, for everybody, and got a lot of good feedback on the various things that we did for employees during the holiday season. So I want to thank council for your support and what we do for the employees during the holiday season. And I don't know, did anybody else have any? We got a couple other announcements.
He's probably coming up to tell us about the ukuleles, huh?
Yeah.
I just had one quick update. I included in the table file tonight a map that will indicate what the 2019 Strictly for Streets program will be this year. We'll try to get that out on the website and various other locations. We're just about to put that out to bid onto the street for contractors to review that, but you'll see from the map that we're looking to upgrade about a little over 4.5 miles of streets this year. We're pretty excited about that. Almost 3 miles of newly paved streets, so either grind that up and lay asphalt on top of existing asphalt or completely remove all of the asphalt and build a new street in there. And then about just under 2 miles of surface treatment, which is chip seal. We're continuing our chip seal program this year. So the roads in red are the chip sealed roads. So those roads are in pretty good shape. We just want to put a wear surface on them. And then the roads you have in green are the new paved areas. And we're getting a lot of help from our utilities folks as well. We're going to be upgrading sewer lines on West 7th Avenue, portion of Sherman. And then there's quite a little bit of water line that we're looking at, West 9th Avenue, almost all of Sherman, and East 6th Avenue. So we're definitely stretching their budget as well as ours. We anticipate we'll spend all $3.1 million of the Strictly for Streets money on streets this year. So pretty excited about that, but thought I'd get this out so you could see that, and we'll get it out in the public. But almost 5 miles, pretty exciting. So be happy to answer any questions you might have about it, but good project this year, we think. So
The part out in the industrial plaza, that's the part that goes around by DFA over towards Lebrino?
correct. Yep. So this is the western half of Bijou Avenue down to Beaver. So, yep.
Absolutely needs to be done.
When will we start? Late March?
I would guess probably, we're going to have this out. We're pretty early in the bid process, which we're excited about. So I think if we can have everybody under contract by mid-April, and work could start as soon as the asphalt plants can fire up, which could be as early as, May 1.
Okay.
And Steve, for communicating with the public, the plans for the next couple years, is that, do we have a special tab on the website that has, where it's just a simple link that people can go to, and it has it'll have this map and like future plans, or how?
Yeah, and we can certainly put maps on the website that show, future years. Just what I would caution residents to understand is that those plans are always subject to change based
Right.
on available funds and available utility funds, work that the utility departments are looking to do. But we can certainly put maps out over a 5-year period. It's just those maps could change each year. But, yep, we can sure do that.
Or even like a simple infographic that shows how many miles have already been done.
Yep.
So they can see the progress that your department's made. I think that would be really powerful for them to see.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. We'll work on last year's map, this year's map, and just start a running tab of what we've completed.
Cool.
It's a good idea.
Thanks for your hard work.
Yeah, you bet.
And then for the citizens' benefit, this is based mainly, you choose this according to the survey we had where they went over the streets with the ultrasound equipment, stuff like that, so we know what the base is like and what the street is like. And then you have prioritized those and trying to get those going, correct?
You got it. That is correct. Yep, we're utilizing the program that we paid for a few years ago that continues to evolve every day. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
Very, very cool, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and as an aside, I'd like to talk to you today about your Christmas tie decor. Since I don't wear ties anymore, if you want some more, I'll let you come
I would.
pick. Because I got 130 caricature ties from when I was in practice.
I love it. I'd be happy to look through your collection.
Anytime, give me
All
a
right.
call and come on by.
Is that on the agenda?
Recycling.
This is other.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else? Bids, meetings, and announcements. Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city is currently accepting, it's that time of year, the bids are going to start coming. We've got about 6 or 8 of them now. Sealed bids for the Fort Morgan Airport Office remodel project until 3 p.m. on January 8th. For an unmarked patrol vehicle until 3 p.m. on January 10th. For a police patrol vehicle until 3 p.m. on January 10th. For a code enforcement pickup truck until 3 p.m. on January 10th. For 2 trailer-mounted variable message signboards until 3 p.m. on January 16th. And 2019 on-call services for wet utility repairs and excavating projects until 3:45 p.m. on January 16th. Under meetings, the Senior Center Advisory Board is scheduled to meet on January 8th at 1:30 p.m. at the Senior Center. The Planning Commission will meet January 14th at 4:30 p.m. Here at City Hall. And the next regular City Council meeting will be January 15th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall.
Okay. Next on the agenda is an executive session. And I had asked Mr. Brennan prior to this, but I want to get your legal advice since it was changed this morning, just from 3 to 4F. Does that still constitute the fact of public notification requirements for this?
Yes, and I think under the circumstances, we're changing what citation we're going under. The specified purpose is the same, and so the public's been aware of this executive session. We just needed to make sure we corrected the statutory citation for why.
Okay, so that does meet the requirements.
Correct.
Okay. So this executive session for discussion of a personnel matter under CRS Section 24-6-4024F and not involving any specific employee who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, any member of this body or elected official, the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of a matters personal to particular employees. Following additional details are provided for information purposes. Check in with the city manager. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
You want to make a motion to move into executive session?
Second.
I have a motion by Allison Howe and a second by Kevin Lindell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. We will go into executive session.